The day was quiet and cold as people slowly walked into the old cemetery. Dark clouds filled the sky and a soft wind moved through the tall trees. It was the day of Maya's father's farewell. He had been a strong man who spent his whole life protecting his only daughter. Maya stood near the front, wearing a simple black dress. Her eyes were tired from many sleepless nights, but she stood calm and strong. She was saying goodbye to the last person who had ever truly cared for her. Maya remembered how her father had held her hand when she was a small girl. He had always told her that no matter how hard life became, she should never let anyone make her feel small. Those words stayed in her heart as she watched the casket slowly lower into the ground. She felt sadness, but also a strange quiet strength growing inside her. Not far from Maya stood her husband Ron. He did not look sad at all. His eyes moved around the crowd, and his face showed no respect for the moment. Next to him stood Nina, a young woman holding her belly gently. Everyone could see she was expecting a baby. Some people whispered quietly, but no one dared to speak out loud. The truth was clear to many. Ron had brought his new partner to his wife's father's farewell, and it made the air feel heavy. Maya had known about Nina for months. She had known about the late nights, the lies, and the secrets. Many times she had cried alone in her room, but she never showed her pain to anyone. She kept her head high and her heart quiet. She was not weak. She was simply waiting. The priest finished speaking, and everyone bowed their heads. Just when the last words were said, Ron suddenly stepped forward. His shoes pressed into the soft earth as he walked straight toward Maya. Without any care for the place or the people, he pulled a white envelope from his jacket. "This is for you," Ron said in a clear voice, holding the envelope out in front of Maya. The crowd froze. Maya looked at the envelope. She already knew what was inside. Her heart did not jump. Her hands did not shake. Slowly, she took it and placed it inside her purse. People watched her closely, waiting for her to break down, but she did not. She remained still and calm. Nina stood beside Ron with a quiet smile. She believed that Maya's life was ending and that her own life was just beginning. Nina thought she had won. Maya lifted her eyes and looked at Ron. Her face showed no anger. It showed no fear. It showed something deeper, something Ron did not understand. What Ron did not know was that just a few hours earlier, Maya's life had already changed. While Ron was planning how to walk away, Maya had received a phone call that would turn her world upside down. Earlier that morning, Maya had been sitting alone in her father's old house. The rooms were quiet and filled with memories. Her phone rang, breaking the silence. On the other side was her father's lawyer, Mr. Dean. "Miss Maya," he said gently, "your father left something for you. It is very important. You must come to my office as soon as you can." Maya had gone there right away. She sat in front of the old wooden desk, her hands folded in her lap. Mr. Dean slowly opened a thick file. "Your father had a private account that no one knew about," he said. "He also owned several businesses under different names. All of it was placed into a trust for you." Maya could not believe what she was hearing. "The total value," Mr. Dean continued, "is over $1 billion. Maya felt her breath leave her chest. Her father had lived a simple life. She had no idea he was hiding something so large. "He did this to protect you," Mr. Dean said. "He knew one day you might need it." Maya left the office that day with a heavy heart but a new sense of strength. Her father was gone, but he had given her a shield. Now she stood at the cemetery, holding the papers Ron had given her. He believed he was ending her story, but he was only opening a new chapter. After the crowd slowly began to leave, Maya stayed behind for a moment. She walked to her father's grave and placed her hand on the fresh earth. "Thank you," she whispered. Ron and Nina walked past her without saying a word. They thought they were free. But Maya knew something they did not. The world was about to change for all of them. She walked away from the grave with quiet steps, not as a broken woman, but as someone who was ready to rise. The next morning came quietly as soft light entered through the window of Maya's old family home. The house felt empty without her father's voice, but it also felt safe. Maya sat near the window with a warm cup in her hands, thinking about everything that had happened the day before. Ron's cold face at the cemetery and Nina's proud smile stayed in her mind, yet she did not feel weak. She felt clear. She knew her life had reached a turning point. Maya slowly stood and walked through the living room. Her father had kept many old books and papers in a small wooden cabinet. She opened it and found some letters he had written for her. One of them was marked with her name. Her hands moved carefully as she opened it and read his simple words. He had written that no matter what happened, she should always trust her heart and never allow anyone to take away her value. Those words gave her comfort and strength. Later that day, Maya went back to Mr. Dean's office. She wanted to understand everything her father had left behind. Mr. Dean explained how the trust worked and how the businesses were already running. Maya did not need to rush or make fast choices. Everything was already arranged to support her for life. She listened closely, knowing that knowledge was now her greatest tool. Meanwhile, Ron and Nina were busy with their own plans. They had moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. Ron believed his future would be easy now that Maya was no longer part of his life. Nina believed she would soon enjoy a life filled with comfort and respect. Neither of them had any idea about Maya's new position. Ron told Nina that Maya had always been weak and depended on him. He said that soon she would struggle, and he would never have to see her again. Nina listened with a smile, believing every word. She imagined a future where Ron would focus only on her and their child. Back at Maya's home, she began sorting through her father's old business records. She wanted to learn about the companies he had quietly built. There were factories, offices, and even small research centers. All of it was now part of her life. Maya did not feel overwhelmed. She felt focused. Her father had trusted her, and she would not waste that trust. Days passed, and Maya slowly grew into her new role. She started meeting with the managers who worked for her father. At first, they were surprised to see her, but soon they realized how calm and wise she was. She asked simple but strong questions, and she listened more than she spoke. People began to respect her. One afternoon, Maya went to a small cafe near the office. She sat alone, enjoying the quiet. As she sipped her drink, she noticed Ron and Nina walking by outside. They did not see her. Ron was talking loudly, and Nina was laughing. They looked sure of themselves, unaware that Maya was sitting just a few steps away, now in control of more than they could imagine. Maya did not feel anger. She felt something better. She felt ready. That evening, Maya returned home and opened another letter from her father. In it, he wrote about how he had faced betrayal in his own life. He had learned that sometimes people showed their true selves only when they believed they had already won. He told Maya that patience was more powerful than any loud action. Those words stayed with her as she planned her next steps. She was not going to rush. She was going to move carefully and wisely. A few days later, Ron received a call from an unknown number. A calm voice on the other end said that he was being invited to a business meeting. It was about a company he once worked with during his marriage. Ron felt proud, thinking that maybe someone still saw his value. He dressed well and went to the office building listed in the message. Nina stayed home, telling him to bring back good news. Ron entered a large meeting room. He was surprised when he saw Maya sitting at the head of the table. She looked calm and confident, nothing like the woman he thought he had left behind. "What is this?" Ron asked with a forced smile. "This is a meeting," Maya said softly. "You are here because you still have a contract with one of my companies." Ron froze. He had no idea what she meant. Maya explained that her father had owned the company Ron once worked with and that she now controlled it. Ron suddenly realized how small his world had become. Maya did not raise her voice. She did not show anger. She simply spoke the truth. Ron left the building confused and shaken. He returned home and told Nina that something strange had happened. Nina did not understand, but she felt a small fear in her heart for the first time. Maya sat alone after the meeting, feeling a quiet sense of peace. She was not seeking to hurt anyone. She was simply stepping into the life her father had prepared for her. As the sun set outside her office window, Maya knew that this was only the beginning. Ron and Nina had walked away thinking they had won, but they had no idea how much the world was about to shift around them. The truth was slowly coming to light, and Maya was ready to face whatever came next with steady strength. The city was waking up as soft sunlight touched the tall buildings and quiet streets. Maya stood near her office window, watching people move below. Her life had changed in a way she never expected, yet she felt calm. Every day she learned more about the companies her father had built, and every day she felt stronger. She was not trying to show power to the world. She was simply becoming who she was meant to be. Ron, on the other hand, felt uneasy. After the strange meeting with Maya, his mind was full of questions. He had always believed Maya depended on him, but now he was starting to realize how wrong he had been. Nina noticed his silence. She could feel something was not right, but Ron did not want to talk about it. He was afraid of what the truth might be. Maya began visiting different offices and factories. The workers welcomed her with respect. She spoke kindly to them and listened to their stories. She wanted to understand their lives, not just the numbers on paper. Slowly, the people who worked in her father's businesses began to trust her. They could see that she cared. One day, Maya visited a small factory on the edge of the city. It had once been her father's favorite project. The manager showed her how everything worked. Maya was impressed by how hard everyone worked. She promised to support them and help the business grow. When she left, the workers felt hopeful. Meanwhile, Ron tried to contact one of the companies he used to deal with, hoping to find new work. But many of them told him they could not help. They said there had been changes in ownership. Ron began to feel trapped. His confidence slowly faded. Nina started to feel worried too. She had believed Ron's words about a bright future, but now he spent most of his time staring at his phone or sitting quietly. Their small apartment felt heavy with silence. Maya continued reading her father's letters. One of them spoke about trust and how important it was to choose people wisely. Maya thought about her past with Ron. She did not feel angry anymore. She simply understood that he had shown his true self. A week later, Maya attended a formal business event. Many important people were there. She walked into the hall with quiet confidence. Some recognized her name and came to speak with her. They had heard about the new owner of her father's companies and wanted to learn more. Maya answered politely, never showing off, only sharing what mattered. Across the room, Ron arrived by chance. He had been invited by a friend who still believed in him. When he saw Maya speaking with respected business leaders, his heart sank. He could not believe the change in her. She looked strong, calm, and respected. Nina was not with him that evening. She was feeling tired and had stayed home. Ron tried to approach Maya, but every time he took a step forward, someone else walked up to her. He felt invisible. Maya noticed Ron from across the room. She did not move toward him. She simply continued her conversations. She knew that the best response was to keep living her life with dignity. Later that night, Ron went home and told Nina what he had seen. Nina felt confused and uneasy. She began to wonder if she truly understood the situation. Ron had always told her Maya was weak and depended on him, but now that story was breaking apart. Maya returned home that night feeling peaceful. She made herself a simple meal and sat by the window. She thought about how far she had come in just a short time. Her father's quiet plan had protected her in ways she was only now starting to see. The next day, Maya received a message from Mr. Dean. He told her that everything was moving smoothly and that her position was secure. Maya thanked him and continued her work. Ron, however, felt like his world was shrinking. He tried to reach out to old contacts, but doors kept closing. Nina watched him with growing worry. The future they had imagined was slipping away. Maya decided it was time to fully step into her role. She began working on new projects that would help the companies grow. She hired people who believed in her vision. The energy around her businesses started to change. One afternoon, Maya visited her father's grave. She stood quietly and placed a small flower on the ground. She felt grateful. He had known she would need strength, and he had given it to her in the best way he could. As Maya walked away, she felt lighter. She was no longer living in the shadow of her past. She was moving forward, guided by wisdom and patience. Ron and Nina, meanwhile, were facing hard days. The money Ron had saved was slowly running out. Nina began to question her choices. She realized that things were not as simple as she once believed. Maya did not know what would happen next, but she trusted herself. She knew that no matter what challenges came, she was ready to face them. The balance of their lives had shifted. Maya was rising, and Ron was learning a difficult lesson. And this story was still far from over. The morning air felt fresh as Maya walked through her office building with calm steps. Sunlight moved through the tall glass windows, lighting up the wide halls. People greeted her with warm smiles as she passed. In only a short time, she had become someone they respected and trusted. Not because of money alone, but because of how she treated everyone with kindness and fairness. Maya spent her days working on plans that would help her father's companies grow in a good way. She wanted to create jobs, support families, and make sure the businesses stayed honest. Each meeting she attended made her feel more confident. She was no longer the quiet woman who stood in the shadow of someone else. She was building her own future. Ron's life was very different. He and Nina were struggling to keep things together. The small apartment felt crowded and tense. Bills were becoming harder to manage, and Ron's phone was no longer ringing with new work offers. The world he thought he controlled was slowly slipping away. Nina began to see things clearly. She noticed how Ron blamed others for his problems and never took responsibility. The strong image he once showed her was fading. She felt unsure and scared about what the future might bring. One afternoon, Ron received a letter from one of Maya's companies. It said that his remaining contract would soon end. He felt the weight of reality fall on him. There was nothing he could do to change it. Maya had not spoken badly about him. She had simply allowed things to move forward as they should. Maya continued her work quietly. She did not try to hurt anyone. She focused on her goals and on honoring her father's memory. She believed that the best way to show strength was to live well. Nina, however, was feeling more and more uneasy. She had left behind her old life to be with Ron, but now she was not sure it had been the right choice. The future she imagined was not happening. One evening, Nina decided to visit Maya. She felt nervous but knew she had to face the truth. When she arrived at Maya's office, she was surprised by how simple and calm it looked. It did not feel cold or distant. It felt warm and welcoming. Maya met Nina in a small meeting room. There was no anger in her eyes, only calm understanding. Nina told her how lost she felt and how confused her life had become. She did not try to defend herself. She simply spoke honestly. Maya listened quietly. When Nina finished, Maya said gently that everyone makes choices, and those choices shape their future. She told Nina that she hoped she would find peace and strength in her own way. Nina left feeling lighter. She realized that Maya was not her enemy. The real problem was the path she and Ron had chosen. Ron was not happy when he learned Nina had gone to see Maya. He felt more alone than ever. He began to understand that he had lost not only Maya but also the respect of others. Maya, on the other hand, felt free. She had faced the past and moved beyond it. She was no longer holding pain inside her. She was focused on what mattered. Months passed. Maya's businesses grew stronger. She supported new projects and helped many people improve their lives. Her father's dream was being carried forward in a beautiful way. Ron and Nina eventually went their separate ways. Nina decided to start over and build a quiet life for herself. Ron was left to reflect on the choices he had made. He finally understood that he had lost something rare and precious. Maya visited her father's grave again one peaceful afternoon. She stood quietly and smiled softly. "I'm okay now," she whispered. The wind moved gently through the trees, as if answering her. Maya walked away with confidence and hope. Her future was bright, and her heart was at peace.